Hello, everybody. It's Jason and Justin. Today we are joined by Kira Reed Lorsch. Kira, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Great. I've been looking forward to this interview. I'm super excited to talk to you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Before you shoot yours, it's the three geeks. Now, does that make me the third geek?
Yes, that's kind of how these interviews work out.
Okay, I love it.
We have a weekly live show, but there's way more than three of us. And then for the conversations, it's me, Justin, and a guest, which is three of us.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm a geek today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how these people call me.
It's all right. I get called
calling through the computer.
Mm.
Do you want to start over?
Oh, we can edit it out.
I powered my phone off, but I guess it's still coming through the computer.
It's all right. We'll just edit this part out.
Okay, you can leave it in if you want. I mean, I'm a geek already. We might as well show that I can't use my phone.
Really lean into it.
I don't know how to use my iPhone.
So, Kira, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Northern California, born and raised California girl. I also grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, where my step family is from. So I got some Midwest there. My brother still lives there. My sister's in Nashville. So, I've got some roots all over.
That's awesome. What made you want to get into film and television?
Well, I always wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be in the TV as a little girl. Like I just knew I wanted to do it, and I was good at it. I was outgoing. I was kind of shy because we moved around a lot, but the way that I fit in was I was good in speech class. I was good in the school plays, and it really brought me out of my shell of being the new girl all the time. My stepfather flipped houses. He was in construction, so I moved 12 times before I was 12 years old. So it helped to have me have a thing, So that became my thing. My mom put me on Romper Room when I was 4 because I begged her to introduce me to Miss Marianne, and she drove me down to Oakland, and I auditioned and I got it, and I started doing commercials as a kid, and I went to arts high schools both in Louisville and back in LA. I came back to California because I loved the free thinkingness of California, and that's where Hollywood was. How was I going to be a movie star if I wasn't where the movies were being made? So I came here, and I got a scholarship to UCLA School of Theatre, Film, and Television, and I've been working, my way up from an extra since I got my SAG card, at 17, and then my first line at 19 on the original 90210, and I just, now I'm 40 something. And I'm still, a working actress.
What is it like getting your first role on 90210? What was that experience like?
Well, I was an extra in the class. So I would be there working as an extra. So I was around all the people, and at the time that was like the biggest show on TV. So it was like an honor just to be chosen to be part of the class. And I was a SAG extra. So my hope was I would get enough vouchers as an extra to turn those in to get my SAG card, or they have to give you a line. And they gave me a line at the Peach Pit with Luke Perry for somebody's birthday party. And I was one of the dancing girls. And, I came over and wished somebody the happy birthday, you know what I mean? And was there for blowing out the candles. And it's like, it's like the seas part and the angels shine down on you and you think you've made it because you have one line on 90210. And, at the moment it's the biggest thing in the world.
I can see that. We've done these interviews for about a year now, and every time I do one, I feel like it's the biggest thing in the world.
Good. You weren't like, oh God, we got to do this again. There's some actress that we don't even barely heard of. We got to interview and make it interesting.
No,
you don't read it, you love it, right?
Yeah, it's all fun.
I do. The actor I know the least about, I enjoy talking to the most. Getting to know him and stuff. But what has your career been like? What's some of the highlights that you've had so far coming up in the 90s and early 2000s?
Well, in the 90s and early 2000s, I had the great privilege of working for Hugh Hefner. I started out, after just getting, little lines and little parts and working for a living and bartending and cocktail waitressing, when I answered an ad in the LA Weekly for bikini models wanted for a Playboy production of Maui Heat swimsuit edition. And I was like, and just picture this. I don't look anywhere as glamorous as I do now, as I did then. I was fresh out of my purple hair stage and my like combat boots. And, I was already over the hill for a Playboy girl. I was 24. And I graduated college at UCLA. I was working, I was struggling. And I'm like, if they pick me to be a bikini model, I'm doing something right. You know what I mean? So I kept going to these auditions for Playboy. And I'm standing next to these gorgeous Amazon women and like these blonde, beautiful models and stuff. And I'm like, why am I even in the same room with these girls? But I realized quickly that I was like the Marianne to their Gingers. They needed the relatable girl next door. They needed someone who was the more accessible girl. So I get to the final callback, and with all these executives, and I'm like, so did I get the part? Like, they kept reading me for these swimsuit models. They're like, no, you didn't get the part of the swimsuit model. I'm like, oh, well, thanks. It was a good learning experience. Have fun in Hawaii. They said, no. We're going to put you in the movie. You're going to be the makeup artist to the swimsuit models. You're going to be the sidekick, the funny girl. And I'm like, perfect. I get to go to Maui for 3 weeks. And I had just gotten back from Greece after my college, time. That was I got $1,000 from my grandparents for graduating college. I'm like, I've never left the country. I'm going to go to Italy. I'm going to go to Greece. I studied all these, art and history and architecture. I was really into that. So I wanted to go see the ruins and everything. But they also had topless beaches. Like, it was normal. They're like, but you've got to be comfortable if there's nude scenes. You're going to at least be topless in this movie. I'm like, I like took off my shirt in the room. I'm like, I just got back from Greece. Everybody's doing it. I don't know what the big deal was. And they're like, thank you, you're hired.
That's awesome.
Wow. So did you meet Hef and everything?
I did.
Well,
I met Hef. I was in the magazine as an actress feature in the magazine. I did, I would say, those Skinamax movies in the 90s, I did at least 20 of those. Some of them were Playboy productions or Playboy productions with Eros or the Zalman King, the Red Shoe Diaries or all of that sort of stuff. They all went through Playboy. So I was invited to the parties as one of the girly girls. But I also, they sent my footage from Maui Heat, that first movie I did, to Hef to be approved to do other movies or whatever. And then I was on the party list, so I'd go to the mansion for the parties. And then later in my life, when I was married to my late husband, Bob, who's a wonderful man and philanthropist, he would use the Playboy Mansion to do his charity events. So I had the wonderful idea when I started working with Hollywood for Mental Health. That's Debbie Reynolds, Carrie Fisher, Ruta Lee, then, run it. And I was actually the president of Hollywood for Mental Health for a couple of years after Carrie Fisher died and Debbie Reynolds died, both at the same time. It was nuts. I was on the board. I took over. But one of my crowning achievements of being, running the show there was that we honored Hugh Hefner before he died at the Playboy Mansion as our Mr. Wonderful. I did Smokey Robinson the next time I did the event. Anyway, but, so I went from a naked girl in his magazine to the Beverly Hills charity lady who was honoring him.
That's great.
So I went like this with Hef. I ran the spectrum with Hef.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to be, guess what? I have this a Halloween event coming up that's benefiting St. Jude's. Mm-hmm. And it's called Hollywood Hotness. You can go to hollywood-hotness.com and buy tickets or just donate and support. And I'm going to be one of the hosts, and I'm going to be a Playboy bunny. Year-old Playboy bunny for Halloween this year.
It's gonna be great. So you mentioned Carrie Fisher, and I have to, being a geek podcast, have you had a lot of interactions with her, or?
I've met Carrie Fisher. I've actually been to her house. If you go to my @Kira Reed Lorsch Instagram, I actually posted a picture of me on her kitchen floor not too long ago. Her and her brother Todd, weren't as active as their mother, Debbie Reynolds. It was Debbie Reynolds' charity. But, you know, even in the honorary Oscar speech that Kira gave about Debbie, she talked about the Phalians in Hollywood for mental health. And the guy who's now the, you know, chairman of the board for Hollywood for mental health for the Phalians treated Carrie Fisher. I mean, she's open about it, or I wouldn't talk about it, about her bipolar and everything. But, you know, you'll notice on her kitchen floor, in her tile, there's Prozac pills.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Princess Leia, man, she was great, wasn't she? And she really took her issues that she had and made art out of them, and really was a role model for speaking out. Like we're used to it now. Like I'm a spokesperson for mental health, not because I'm so healthy, you know, I'm so mentally healthy. It's because I'm not. You know, it's like, in the pandemic has shined a big spotlight on it. We're all a little nuts, and, you know, when the world goes nuts, you know, how we react to that, it really shines a spotlight on how important mental health awareness is, and that it's okay to not be okay, and you can reach out for help, you know. So that's what that is all about. I'm also an ambassador for the Imperfectly Perfect campaign, which is a mental health awareness organization outside of Australia. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that is fantastic. Like that is, I love anybody that participates with charities. We've done a few ourselves with other podcasters, and it feels good to give back. And
it does. It really does heal you. You know, when you go through whatever kind of self-help programs you go to, you get out, you know, your problems are, you know, self-pity or desperation or neediness or whatever. It's like, what's the remedy for that? Giving back to others, service, helping other people. That's how you're going to feel better about yourself. So it's not just lip service. It does work.
You were on one of my favorite shows of all time, which is NYPD Blue. What was that experience like? What was Dennis Franz like?
Dennis Franz never knew his lines.
I believe that.
You know, when you come in as a guest actor, and I did 4 episodes, you're so excited to be there, you know? So you rehearse and you work with your acting coach and you know your lines. They're doing this day in and day out. They sort of learn them as they go and they find their way. So it's like, but you know what? That's how he worked. Like he didn't, like I was ready and I knew all my lines, but then I'm working off this guy who's changing it up every time, and you know, all of that. But that's how he was so good. That's how he found his character and his comfort level. But also it's just like, it's a lot to do. Those guys, you know, all those hallway scenes, walking down and talking about things and just all in one take, and the camera moving, like it's a lot. I admire them. And Jimmy Smits, I mean, my God, these actors were so good. And they used to shoot on, you know, they shot when I shot on the lot at 20th Century Fox, and I lived right on Beverly Glen and Olympic, which is like 6 blocks from 20th Century Fox. It was the first time I got to go that 6 blocks and go on the lot. Like I would see Dennis Franz at the Ralph's at the grocery store, in between, like where I would walk from my house and he would come after work, and I'd see him in the aisle, and you know what I mean, to be like, oh, that's Dennis Franz. And then I got to work with him, which was amazing, you know. So I always like working with, and he was nice.
Yeah.
Which is always nice too, because they're not all nice.
I'm glad to hear that he's nice. They talked about, and I guess they shot a pilot for a reboot or a sequel series for NYPD Blue, but they were going to kill Sipowicz off in the first episode. I'm like, after all the crap that guy went through during the original series, like, let him live.
Yeah, man.
Let him live.
Every relative he had died, so let's just let the guy live.
Yes.
So you've dipped your toes into quite a bit of different things in Hollywood, being an actress or a writer or a producer. Is there one you enjoy more than the other? Do you enjoy acting more than producing, or do they all kind of scratch a different itch? Or you know,
yeah, they're totally different animals. Producing's hard. Solving problems is hard. You know, creating something from scratch and getting funding is hard. You know, and writing something, you know, on a blank screen, like writing, like it's either coming to you and it's easy. Thank you, God. I'm just channeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it's work. I don't like it, you know. It's one or the other. Producing, as long as I'm working with people I know and respect, I like doing it, and I like problem solving. It's like solving a bunch of people's problems who aren't doing a good job and that I end up not respecting. Not so fun. You don't work with those people again. But of all things, I don't know how I ended up with this group of people, but I've been working with the PureFlix team, which is now Sony Pinnacle Peak. Sony bought PureFlix. Sure. You know, pureflix.com, David A.R. White, Christian, family friendly. I play the bad guy, you know, the vixen bad girl on all their, and it's not all their movies, but of late, I came in as a producer on Beckman. I met David A.R. White through Vincent DePaul, who plays my brother in the movie Beckman, and they were trying to do something more mainstream and use mainstream actors. You know, we had Billy Baldwin, Jeff Fahey, David A.R. White, me, who's known as being, you know, not at the Christian movie girl, really. You know, I was not on Full House. You know, I don't fit the mold, but they needed someone to play a soccer mom by day and a human trafficking assassin by night.
I mean, you're definitely an interesting character.
So I fit that role where they have a lot of people who can play good people, but their you know, pool of talent of people they know don't play a lot of aren't or even willing to go that dark. Like, it was pretty dark. I had people tied up in my basement doing nasty things. You know what I mean? So I had a ball. And then they were so nice as to hire me as an actress and take me to Malta in the belly of the pandemic. Matt Shapiro directed, David A.R. White starred again. They brought all their friends that they know could go to a foreign country and hang and make a movie. And we Stephen Bauer, you know, Scarface, Ray Donovan, he's been a friend for many, many years. And I got to play his like Girl Friday. He was the lead bad guy against David A.R. White, and I was his kind of sidekick, you know, badass girl. So that was really fun. And that comes out on my birthday. We're having the premiere October 13th. So in a few weeks, look for Love on the Rock.
Awesome. Well, happy birthday. It's coming up.
Thank you. I won't tell you what number it is because it's too big. And I'm too cute to be that old.
That's right. Yeah. How was Malta then? How was filming in Malta?
Malta, it's crazy beautiful. I mean, they filmed Game of Thrones there. What's the other one with the Lord of the Rings and all of that? They filmed
New Zealand,
right? There. Yeah, it's like where Christianity was born. It's where like all the underground cities and like these big churches, and then it's like the majestic cliffs. They filmed the Blue Lagoon there. On our days off, we went swimming in the actual Blue Lagoon. Like, it was redonkulous. And then one of the guys who played one of the fishermen, who's local, is the goalie for their soccer team, their football team. We hit it off. I had a small part, so I had a lot of time off, so he would just show me around.
That's cool.
I had the best time in Malta. I was hanging with, you know, the Beckham of the country. You couldn't walk down the street without a kid asking to sign the soccer ball. And he thought I was hot stuff because I was a Hollywood actress. You know, it all worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. For sure.
That is awesome. I have to hear about Cupcakes for Christmas because I'm a big Christmas Hallmark movie guy.
That's an understatement.
Well, you know what? I love those movies too, but sometimes they're a little bit too sweet. Like the title, Cupcakes for Christmas. And that's why that's the working title, because we're going to sneak in some hard issues in that sweet little movie. But me and my friends wrote it. We're like, what? We want a movie that deals with issues that fits, that we're going to check all the boxes of Hallmark, but we're also going to touch on some things like she's an alcoholic or becomes, you know, an alcoholic for a short time after her husband cheats on her with her teenage daughter's college-age tutor. Like, that's not in a Hallmark movie usually. Like, that's how the catalyst for getting her to kind of fall off and do some bad things and then have a redemption story. And of course, there's the happy ending, and she goes back to her small town, falls in love. Of course, you know, it's very hope floats with the geek. Because,
is she a baker?
Who used to be the geek in school, who's really the nice guy now, and she should have seen that all along, and they lived happily ever after. Oh, God. Yeah. Now I've given away the whole movie.
we can edit it
We're
out.
set to shoot on a horse farm because it takes place on a horse farm where she moves back with her dad after this happens in Tennessee during the pandemic, and it got delayed, and now you know how it is. So someday that movie will come into existence. I was going to play the lead girl. I may not anymore. We might get someone bigger and younger, and and do it. But it's fun to even get this far with that movie.
Is there cupcakes in the movie?
Oh yes, she talks to her dead mother who died of breast cancer. We're talking some really heavy stuff in this little Hallmark movie, who becomes her guardian angel, and she says, "Put the bottle down and make cupcakes." And she starts making cupcakes. She's the cupcakes queen of LA, and then she just becomes the cupcakes queen of her own hometown.
I think Hallmark movies have to have cupcakes somewhere in them.
They have to.
Is that a thing? Is that a thing? I don't watch many.
There's like a checklist. Something bad has to happen that they have to get out of. There's got to be something. There's got to be some sort of faith element, and there's got to be cupcakes, and there has to be a snowball fight. If it's a Christmas movie, there must be snow, and there's got to be a cute little romantic snowball fight, and there's got to be a montage about picking out a Christmas tree and decorating it. There's this list.
Nice.
Check it twice.
Yes.
I am loving where this interview is going. We're going all over the place. This is fantastic. But I have to ask about Witches of Amityville Academy, because I'm a fan of the Amityville franchise, and that one I have not heard of yet, and I really want to check it out.
That's because it's a straight to DVD, like all movies are these days. Let's see if I can find it. You can buy these on my website, signed, by the way. My friend Donna Spangler, I'm going to get this so you can see it. My friend Donna Spangler called me up one day and said, me and my friend Britton are going to make a movie about 3 witch sisters and saving their niece, who's the young girl from the bad witch. We're going to be the good witches, but we need a third sister. So you're going to be our third sister if you want to come to England and make a movie. This is pre-pandemic. We shot it in November in England. So it's Amityville Witches. Look for this, or Witches of Amityville Academy, depending on where you get it. I'm the middle witch in the center.
Nice.
The 3 sisters, and then and we had the best time, and we shot the whole movie in like a week with these young kid, bare bones production budget, with like a lot of horror movies. Like, it doesn't have to be that great. It just has to be kind of scary and and have a fun story. And to tell you the truth, I don't like the blood and gore stuff. Like, at first, at one point they were talking about, because I didn't look like the other girls so much, they're tall and thin and model looking, and I'm the kid sister, so I could be the little runt, I guess. But they said, well, maybe you'll be better at the bad witch. I'm like, no, I'm not going to sacrifice any virgins. I don't want blood. I don't want to have to fight the demon, and eat him. No, leave that to somebody else. I'll be the good witch who saves the day. And, that was more my scene. That's why I haven't done a lot of horror movies. I did a couple of really fun things. I did Perversions of Science, which was with Toby Hooper directed it. He did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it was Bob Zemeckis was the executive producer. I mean, it was incredible. I worked with Chris Sarandon and Jason Kennedy and Jason Lee, and like some really good people. And I played like a young vampirist, girl, goth girl, which was fun, and was on the cover of Perversion. What was it called? Femme Fatales magazine. Remember that back in the day? You're geeks, you should know.
Yeah, I believe so.
It missed me.
Femme Fatales magazine. Anyway, it was a really fun anthology series, and I've been killed in a couple things, including NYPD Blue. They find me dead in the bathtub. Well, that's what.
Do you have a favorite death? I think this is an important question to answer. Do you have a favorite way you went out?
Wait, hold on. Another movie.
Okay.
I die in several of these. This is a really good death, Beckman.
Okay.
Because I die several times. You think I'm dead, but I'm not really dead. And by the way, we're not sure if I'm dead still because we're working on the sequel. Oh. But I get shot in the back, and then I get stabbed in the back, And then I'm left swimming in a sea of blood, but he never checks to see if I'm dead. So I could still be alive.
Man, a lot of...
This one, Acts of Desperation, I can't really tell you what happens, but it's very dramatic. They stop me from killing myself at the beginning of the movie. Treva Etne, Paul Sorvino, Jason Gedrick, and me. And I'm a crazy deranged, how can you tell that I can play crazy and deranged? I don't know. I seem very normal, but I play a kind of a bipolar, suicidal nutcase. And I say that with all due respect to some people having issues, but she's a mess, and she just works her way into the lives of all these different people. And but you can't save somebody who wants to die. Let's just put it that way.
Fair enough.
So, but that's a very dramatic scene because it involves actually shooting on a freeway overpass, having to be tied in, and
that's scary.
Jumping.
Yeah. That's scary.
So that was a really fun death to shoot. And then NYPD, and then this is sort of a side note because I was Patricia Arquette's body double for Stigmata. So all of that, when she goes through the she gets the nails through her hands, or she's bleeding all over the place. They used my body for a lot of that. The seizure in the bathtub, because that's a lot of work. Like, she's working on the scenes where she's close up or whatever, but then when they've got to go in and get a bunch of coverage, I was her person who got tortured, basically. So that was a really fun thing to shoot. And I worked on that movie for 3 months. I get more residuals from never having my face on screen than a lot of other little movies that I've made.
Wow. Awesome. I got to ask one more thing before we go. What's one of the craziest things that you can talk about that happened on either a set or throughout the course of your career making movies?
The grotto.
What's happened in the grotto stays in the
I'm sure that's a rule.
You know what? I know this is kind of escaping this question, but it really is about the people that you meet. Like, I just love what happens on location, off camera, like just the camaraderie. Like this last movie we shot, Love on the Rock, Stephen Bauer would get out his guitar every night in the lobby. We were all sort of quarantined into our group when testing, and you're on the call sheet, we all had to stay together, you know what I mean? So we just created like this family and this party, and this, like, we would be dancing and eating and drinking, and just like, it was like summer camp. And that's how it is on most movie sets. But on Malta in a pandemic, it was like to the nth degree, It was really fun. And everyone was just so happy to be out and be amongst people that it was just a really special time.
That is absolutely awesome. I want to thank you so much for joining us. I want to make sure everybody runs out to check out Love on the Rock and go to her website. I've actually got it pulled up here, and there's a lot of cool things you guys can get in the shop and get some autographed movies and some other cool stuff. So definitely check out her website, which is KiraReedLorsch.com.
Thank you. Yes.
And then where can everybody?
Go. I'm sorry, Jason. You did the same thing.
Where can everybody find you online?
At Kira Reed Lorsch on Instagram is my favorite. I'm always on Instagram. It's my new addiction. And on TikTok, and the old Facebook still works. I've got a fan page there. You can join Kira Reed Lorsch fans, or follow me on Twitter at Kira Reed Lorsch.
What about a MySpace?
I think there's still an account there.
I'm sure Tom is still waiting.
He's still my friend. He still likes me.
I miss Tom. All right, everybody, please hit that like, subscribe, and share. We will see you guys next time. Have a great